Hey YouTube, welcome to Beyond the Hype, the series I created to cut through sort of the hype of new Pokemon and new moves and give you an honest opinion to tell you whether they are actually as good as people say they are. Today we're looking at Greedent, which is ranked number 13 in the Ultra League. And it is a very sort of straightforward Pokemon. It's only normal typing, so it's only got one weakness in fighting and double resist ghosts. You know what you get with this Pokemon, a very, very spammy Pokemon with Mud Shot, Body Slam, and Crunch. So if we go to the there's really only two things you need to, maybe three things you need to know about this Pokemon. One is, obviously, you're just going to get lit up by counter users. There's no ways about it, and there are a lot of counter users in this meta, right? Cobalion, Escav, Obstagoon, Virizion, Machamp, Toxicroak, Poliwrath, Crafty, Buzzle, Deoxys. So 10 counter users, all losses. There's really no way you're going to flip the counter user. So if you're going to run this Pokemon, unless you want to run an ABB, you need to have at least one answer to a fighter. There are sort of other weaknesses, like where it gets tricky is like either Pokemon that resist your fast move, no, not Venusaur, but like Pidgeot resists it because it's the Mud Shot, Gliscor as a flyer resists it, stuff like that, or Pokemon that are just like super tanky and that you can't hit super hard. Like Registeel is a perfect example. Even though you're doing super effective Mud Shots, you can only throw Crunch, and they're gonna hit you with the super effective Focus Blast. And then like Steelix is just super bulky as well, so even if you do super effective Mud Shots and Crunches, you're still just gonna get outpaced with the Dragon Tail, Breaking Swipe, taking him down there. So that's sort of the two issues with Greedent. One, down to the counter users. Two, does not hit hard in general. It's very defensive Pokemon. Where it is very strong is being able to either burn out clocks. Again, this Pokemon, I usually try and showcase like 8 to 9 battles at 1.5 speed. 6 battles at 1.5 speed was 16 minutes because this Pokemon is just, every game pretty much went down to the wire because just like it takes like 3 Mud Shots to a Body Slam, and then just like it's just ridiculous how fast you get to these moves, which is very beneficial in some matchups for sure. And I'm going to show you that. What else I'm going to show you is this rating, because it's 19 to 29, and you think like, okay, 19 to 29, that's not good, especially like all these counter user losses, but like sort of medium standard deviation there, right? What is important is you're often using this as a safe swap, right? So when you use these as a safe swap and then they eventually come in with another Pokemon, unless they're coming in with the counter user, in which case you lose. If they come with something else, 1 or 2 Mud Shot advantage substantially flips matchups for you. So you're at a 19-29 record. If you come in 1 Mud Shot advantage and then they come in, that 19 wins jumps up to 24 wins. And then if they're very slow and you get 2 Mud Shot advantage, that 24 wins jumps to 29 wins, right? So you just jumped 10 wins there. Again, you're not going to flip the counter users, even with 2 Mud Shot advantage. You're not going to flip the counter users, and the sort of the super bulky Pokemon like Steelix and that. But like now you're flipping some of these like mid games here against like Charizard, Greninja, Gliscor, right, as the flyer. You're flipping these matchups now because that just Mud Shot advantage, because it gives so much energy, and being able to pump out body slams or crunches will allow you to flip a lot of matchups here. And you'll see in these battles that I do flip quite a lot of matches, just being able to get ahead on energy there. So team, so there's two things here with this team. This team's kind of interesting, kind of weird. I said if you're gonna be weak to fighter, you need to have fighter answers. So Venusaur as a poison and Ninetales as a fairy, right? Just sort of obvious there. I also said that if you're gonna have problems with Registeel and Steelix, so a Ninetales I think is going to be increased because again, it's one of the best answers to Steelix, just having a neutral ice type move and then resisting all the Dragon Claws. So I think that's going to take an upkick. So that's why I used it here. And Venusaur, even though Venusaur is going to lose to Registeel, the Frenzy Plants hurt quite a lot. Even though resisted, and they can only throw resisted at you too, right? Because they only have Focus Blast and Zap Cannon, so their charge moves are resisted too. So it's a loss, but it's not a terrible matchup, right? So that is why I went with this team. So let's look at some very long drawn out battles. Virizions, this is a great lead because at best they have Stone Edge, and they come Ampharos. So I'm like, okay, Venusaur is kind of interesting because Venusaur is like, I've seen Virizions a bunch everywhere. There's a bunch of fighters everywhere. There's Steelix everywhere, which you do okay against. So it's a pretty sneaky Pokemon. So got through the first one, go to the CMP on the second one, CMP tie on the second one. The thing with this Pokemon, or this matchup is, that was, I know that's bad timing, but it was just like the game visually like lagged on me there, or else I would not have thrown on perfect alignment there. I know that much. But I know I can flip switch anyways, and the reason I'm not having to like rush out of here is because I know I can flip switch, and I know I can get my Ninetales on their Virizion. Plus, if the Virizion comes back, I actually may get to a Sludge Bomb before they get to it. So right now, this is not a lot of Greedent. This is just a lot of Venusaur. So we CMP there, which is huge. I can get my Ninetales on it, and then we'll see what is in the back. It is an Aurorus. So this is where you're just going to kind of see. So I'm behind on energy too. They had a two advantage here, but this is Greedent just being tanky. Like Aurora Beam's going to, Meteor Beam, sorry, is going to hurt like 50%. But between the Mud Shot and Crunches, you're just like so spammy here that I'll get another one off before, which would be good because this will probably put it in Powder Snow Weather Ball range at this point. And they're going to have to go for a Meteor Beam here because a Powder Snow Weather Ball will not take out Greedent. Even boosted here, it will not take me out because I'm so defensive. So just absorbing all that energy. The chip damage is done. They'd make a great catch on a Virizion, and I knew that my sort of only win condition was to not let them get the Meteor Beam on me. So I undercharge this. I can take a move as long as it's not a Stone Edge here. I could take a Sacred Sword, and I could take a Leaf Blade if that's what they have. That's fine. And I'm now at the move that I can take this out this time around. So good catch on them. Good heads up awareness on me to not actually go through with that charge because I needed a move coming out. Defense Deoxys. Fighter, right? A fighter with a Psycho Boost, which is where this gets a little tricky because one Psycho Boost will take you out. I don't know if that's totally true, but it pretty much puts you in the red. So I'm always going to shield the first one up no matter what. And then once their attack's lowered, I'll take the second one. I remember this Defense Deoxys. It stayed in. I'm like, okay, throwing two and then bailing still makes sense because you can chip me a ton. And then they stayed in. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're down. You're 4 times lowered here attack. And they shield. Yeah. And I'm like, you're going to get to another one, but you're 4 times lowered. Super effective or not, you're doing like a quarter damage now because you're 4 times lowered. So that's fine. I think they maybe thought they can outpace to, I don't know. Either way, I'm going to be able to take this out and keep switch if I want it. And they have a fairy. So that's maybe why they didn't get out because they were, although if you Psycho Boost and get you down to 50%, Clefable should be able to just Iron or Meteor Mash there to take you out. Either way, Venusaur, I swear this is not a Venusaur showcase. Here comes Greedent. Already had a move, but again, no need to rush. The problem is, like, again, this is like a third left on this Clefable, and this is probably not going to take it out. It does not. They're still alive. Greninja comes in, and this is where Greninja. So I haven't used Greninja yet. It's so glassy. Like, again, not hard hitting mud body slams here, but I'm already at like 50% on this, just over. Live a Hydro from a very attack heavy Pokemon. This will probably put it low enough. And if, as I was say, if they shield, I'm just coming straight in here. And I was like, these resisted Powder Snows are like doing more than enough. And I'm like, if this Powder Snow is doing this much, I bet you I can just go Weather Ball Powder Snow and take this out. Like, there's no point in getting to a Dazzling Gleam. They're going to get to a Hydro Cannon anyways. I bet you I can just get away with that. And they eventually come in here to, I don't know. Either way, take this out for the win here. I do have Greedent as a safe swap. I hope I put those videos in because I remember cutting 2. I hope I didn't actually cut the ones where it's a safe swap. Venusaur against Steelix. This is one where we're probably staying in here. But I may leave after 2 breaking swipes. We'll see. So I'm going right away because I know they're going to want to throw a breaking swipe immediately. So I'm actually just going straight for the CMP. Look at that damage. Holy smokes, that is a ton of damage to a Shadow Steelix. Breaking swipes hurts, but not a ton. They will get another one. Oh, so guess they're caught in animation. So this will take out unless they shield. So they do shield. And at this point, I'm like, you know what? I got one shield. That's, I think, all I need here. So I let this go. They do farm down, which is unfortunate. So that's why I'm coming in Ninetales, because like worst case scenario, they just throw a break and swipe and lower my attack twice, which is fine. That's not going to do any real damage on me. And then they give it up to Cress. So I'm building up here, and then I'm catching a move on Greedent. So I have a ton of energy on the Ninetales, catching the move on Greedent. Eats the grass knot like it's nothing. I will say Greedent's bulk, like it's a level 50, and it's a rank 1 at that. I know it's tanky, and obviously some of these moves you just eat. But I was actually not disappointed, but I was a little surprised how not tanky it was compared to how bulky other Pokemon are. So putting in Greedent, 138 attack, 142 defense, because it actually has a low defense, and it's just its stamina at 227 is insane. So Steelix is reverse. Steelix has all defense, 237, and stamina is 162. Higher reverse there too. I'm trying to think of other bulky Pokemon. Let's see, Double. Double's a more of a attack heavy, not very defensive. What else are defensive Pokemon? Jellicent seems tanky, but even that's just 157 on a 97. So I guess that 227 is quite high. I mean, unless you want to get into like defense Deoxys. Yeah, 288 defense. And I'm sure Registeel is 242 defense. So it's interesting because it's the defense on those Pokemon that is way higher. The defense on Registeel, Steelix, and defense Deoxys is super, super high, and their stamina is just sort of meh. Whereas on Greedent, the stamina is super high, but the defense is actually just mediocre at best. Let me see Giratina Altered, because that's the only other Pokemon I know is super tanky. That's sort of more balanced, 165 defense to 209 stamina. That's sort of more balanced, those two. So it's a weird combo. Mandibuzz 184. And maybe that's why I feel it on Greedent. I saw that coming in as a safe swap. Let's talk about this. Coming in as a safe swap. Get a move off before they even get out of here. It's a shadow, so it still does a decent amount of damage. I'm getting a second move off. I get they're going to a superpower, so they're not going to shield anything. But you know what? Damage is done at this point. And then at this point, I'm like, you know what? They're probably not going to go for a superpower. They're probably just going for Dragon Claw, and they do, and I live it. So now, there we go. I came in the mid game here when they had such an energy advantage, and I still grabbed a shield. They will be able to farm me down here. Ooh, I was at the move too. So I was like half a mud shot away from getting a second move off. I decided to just come in here because I thought, like, you know what? If they have a flyer on the front, maybe they're weak to this in the back, right? Because if you're covering your grass weakness on the front, maybe you're weak to it in the back. So if I got ahead on energy, I can do okay. They are now double weak to ice, the Dragonite and this, which makes me believe they probably have maybe an answer to A9 in the back, which is why I probably came in here, because I was worried that they probably have an A9 answer if they're already double weak to ice. And they let that go, and it's a Cress. Oh, I think this Cress has Future Sight. I'm like, okay, Moonblast, Grass Knot, I'm okay. But then they shield up the Dazzling Gleam. They have Future Sight. On Ninetales, because I've been doing a lot more into the stab stat products compared to like so basically the damage per energy, because it really came up in the the Vulpix, where Body Slam does more damage than Weather Ball. But Weather Ball is actually the better move for Vulpix because it gets stabbed, same type attack bonus. So I actually looked up Weather Ball and Dazzling Gleam, and they have identical damage per energy. So it really does not matter per se, sort of, when you throw. Because they both do the same damage per energy. So I guess it's just sort of like preference of whether you want to just use 1 turn or 2 turn and whether they shield or not. I make a catch here on the A9 and I catch a break and swipe, so you'll love to see it. Just throw the move in case they want to throw another one, but I think they're probably going to go Earthquake here. Non-shadow, so these don't hurt as much. I could have maybe thrown there to take this out and not take the Earthquake, but I assume that I can just farm down. They do get to another one, which is unfortunate, but I'm 2 times lowered, but I'll have energy here. But going back to for Virizion, that's right. But going back to this thought here, looking at because Manabuzz, I have 184 defense and 215 stamina. So Greedent's stamina is very, very high, but its defense is actually quite low compared to these other bulky Pokemon, which makes me feel that's why I was like a little unimpressed by its ability to take some moves here. So yes, it still has bulk because its stamina is through the roof, but its defense is quite not great. And now we have this matchup, Venusaur versus Reggie. Let's see how I play this out. I'm for sure going to get off a couple Frenzy. I may try and catch something on the Greedent. Or I'll live whatever this is. Probably Focus Blast Apkin. I'll probably live both and then get into the Greedent immediately. Yeah, and this is where you're now just going to sort of like outpace to moves here. The fact that it's chipped substantially. And you can live a Focus Blast with ease. And these mud shots are adding up, so I can live a Focus Blast. I'll just shield up 1 anyways. I'm expecting a catch somewhere in here. But I'm at a 2nd crunch already. But again, even crunches, not taking it out. They eventually reset on the Virizion. Get a double kick off, or Sacred Sword off, which will hurt. But I guess the only problem is that does now put me in Focus Blast range. But again, I'm so spammy, and now I come in, force them basically to throw here because I'm going to farm down, and I would just mud shot down for the win. And yeah, this I remember saying slash, I'm like, I think I may still have won this matchup based on this Greedent right here. So they are staying in. Like obviously A9 and Venusaur have terrible matchups here. I think I remember winning this, even though I'm like, I should not have won this matchup. So terrible lead. I come into Greedent. I just eat the move. I'm now, based on how far ahead on energy I am now, just going to be able to probably take this down. Unfortunately, these mud shots are resisted. That 3 body slams still don't even take out a shadow. I think I called the Earthquake here. I do. And then I'm like, they're probably at another Earthquake, so I do shield this one up. And it's just a Night Slash bait. But I get the body slam off, thinking that like maybe I'll grab a shield back. I feel like they let this go though, if I remember. They do let it go. What do they come back in with? The ace? No, they came in with something else, and I think I reset on. Yeah, they come in Golisopod, which, you know, the Shadow Claws are resisted. So Greedent, there's again between Golisopod, Ace Hand Slash, there's a lot of stuff that it resists. I try to catch a liquidation on the Venusaur, banking some energy on the Greedent. I know they're going to come back in here, but I still know they won't shield anything. But I know that frenzies will add up here. It may take 2 or 3, but they will add up. So they're probably going to have to throw here, which is okay. Knowing that Claws resisted, I can go Mud Shot, Crunch, maybe 1 or 2 times, and then just put this. Oh, it doesn't even take me out. It doesn't even take me out. Did they undercharge that? I may get to a second one now, because I think they tried to uncharge to farm down, but now I just got multiple frenzies, which will now put this in. Oh, and we CMP'd. Oh my god. No wonder I won this matchup. I think they just totally misplayed this. And now I come in A9, expecting them to come in here. They're pretty dry now. No, they may not be dry. I'm going to take one liquidation, come back in here. I've got multiple body slams loaded. I remember jumping around a lot in this matchup. Multiple body slams loaded. Get one off. Shield because I want to get the second one off. And force their shield, thinking that because X Scissor is now no longer a bait move, it's probably going to take a little longer to get to. So they shield. They do get to an X Scissor, but now I can probably almost farm down or just come up with a little bit of energy here. Yeah, switch timer's almost up. Know that if I had a bit of energy here, I should be okay. So I take this out and I take out the Glycopod. Take out the Venusaur with that Ice Punch. If they did that, they wouldn't have had to eat 2 more Frenzies, so I probably would have lost, but yeah. So very, very spammy Pokemon. Definitely one worth looking at if you are... I would probably go double, quite honestly, over Greedent. I do have a double, and I will use it as a save swap not next, but I will use it this week and give you my comparison because they are right below each other in the rankings. I just think that double kick, I just think that like they will have body slam. Mud shot obviously charges faster, but double kick charges decently fast and actually does some damage. And then I like payback way more than I like crunch. Like you can actually like threaten things with payback. You can't really threaten things with crunch. So I think that's my sort of comparison between double and Greedent. So if you have a double, I don't think you need to build a Greedent. I do think it's a decent safe swap in this meta, especially like I said, like if you get energy advantage, 1 or 2 mud shot advantage, you can flip a lot of matchups. It's just that like counter users are always going to be very, very tough for you, which is the same for double, right? So that is it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.